an opportunity for you to practice some really fine motor skill tools for making a good selection. In a lot of cases, the selection that you're going to make depends on the photo that you have and the complexity of the subject. So you put, like an airplane in a blue sky. It's really easy for the AI to figure out what part of the subject object is. But it's not so easy when you have a photo like this, where there's a depth of field issue. You've got some things fuzzing out of that depth of field. You've got a lot of white background items, and it tends to blur and add things that you didn't really intend for the selection. To do a selection, again, you've got a selection option of tools. You can use the lasso and carefully draw. A magnetic lasso helps to cling to the edges, but it's very time-consuming and tedious and difficult to do. So generally, it's easier to start with one of the more broad tools like a quick selection tool or an object selection tool or a magic wand tool. I'm going to try object selection and see if I can't select the subject. No, I had this problem before. I'm going to try the magic wand. Now I'll try the quick selection tool. So as I'm adding on bits to this selection, you can see by the marching ants what I'm getting, but it also will tend to get things I didn't want. And instead of starting all over, I'm just going to get everything and then I'm going to clean it up later. I don't really know why object selection isn't working for this, but it's okay. And I guarantee you that the object selection for these objects will not do a perfect job either. This is what's known as an additive feature, but I can subtract. But keep that in mind because it's going to come into effect later. So I'm just going to add in all the bits that I see and ignore the fact that it's going past and getting things that I don't want because I'm going to need to clean that up later anyway, and that's part of what this tutorial is about. Once you've got your subject selected, you can do this. Control click or right click and select and mask, and that takes you to the select and mask option. Now, with these issues, you have tools that you can use within this field. And some of those tools are what are called universal tools or global refinement tools. You can smooth the edge or shift the edge out and bring a little bit more in or shift the edge in. So basically all of those edges expand or contract universally. You can work with contrast, feather, which kind of feathers out past the subject. So it's not a clean selection. Don't use that unless it's part of your vision. Definitely don't use that for a practice assignment. And you've also got view modes that give you better looks at the subject with the background. And depending on what you're looking at and how cluttered it is, different looks may give you a better eye on what needs to be fixed. Okay, so again, not seeing that. And I'm going to go back to what this turned into when I did this the first time. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to keep doing this. But I'll show you later what it looks like when you're done with all of that. I just need to show you the tools and not actually do all of the work because I did it already. But you have tools here that are quick selection tools like what we use, a refine edged brush tool, which is problematic but sometimes can help you clear and clean up hair from a model and not have to do really detailed pixel by pixel work. You've also got a brush tool, which is your basic tool. And you can make selections by object select or lasso select, which I found last time I tried this tutorial to work really well. And then you've also got the ability to zoom in, which becomes really important when you're trying to do that detail work. Keep in mind too that you've got these tools here. You can change the brush size and you can change whether you're adding or subtracting to the image. So I'm going to try the brush tool first and just do a subtraction just so you can see how that works. This is a 20 pixel brush. I'm going to bring that pixel size up a little bit and just subtract some of the bigger things that don't require really fine detail work. And it's really easy to do. If I need to add it back in, I just switch it back, and so I notice this thing right here just needs to be brought back in, and other things, elements. If you find yourself over spilling like that, that's where you really want to zoom in and then basically just bring that brush size down. So I'm going to get back to the brush tool, take it down a bit, and then do my pixel by pixel work. Oops, subtract, like that. And as you can see, the closer you get, the more problems you see. And that becomes a challenge to get a really clean line. So one of the other tools that may be useful is the lasso tool, where you can essentially draw in by hand the line that you want to see. And rather than going all the way out, I'm just going to close this like this. And it is also on a subtract. The visual is different, but it's still a subtracting from selection up there. So basically what you're doing using this tool or the brush tool or a quick selection tool, and again that might not work so well because we've already tried to select, you're adding and subtracting pieces to the image so that in the end you get a clean cut so that you can do other things with it. And that's what I'll be looking for is the edges and see how well you fine-tuned it. So at the end of the day, when you're done with that clean cut, it's going to look something like this. Every part of the plane is in, nothing's out that you didn't want. And then all I did for this particular image to match it with the background is I chose a background from Unsplash. And you might notice that the color is a little bit tinted, so I did work with color in Camera Raw for this layer to get it to match the yellow tones. I also knew where the light was, so I tried to match the sun's position to just make it look as much as possible. And then I also added this little touch here, which was a bit of a blurring effect to create that effect that you get where there's jet wash. So bottom line is your selections get better when you spend more time on it and when you take your time to select and mask and you add and subtract pieces and take a really fine look, close look at all the details so that your selection looks not like this. Zoom out a little bit, which is really rough. Again, if I just selected that and get out of this thing. Back to the general tool. Well, if I selected that and then made a layer out of it, it's just not, you can see it's not going to be as good as that. So that's the end of the tutorial. Thanks for watching. Good luck.